Welcome to the meeting of the Village Board of Hanover Park on Thursday, September 16th, 2021. I haven't seen some of you in a while. Some of you came rolling in here tonight. Where's the NC? He came rolling in. There he is. Oh, glad you didn't do that when you were working. Anyway, we'll call the meeting to order. Christy, please call the roll.
Trustee Prigi?
Here.
Trustee Husani?
Here.
Trustee Gutierrez?
Here.
Trustee Porter?
Here.
Trustee Kemper?
Here.
Trustee Bancole?
Here.
Quorum established.
Thank you. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have a motion to accept the agenda.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any changes to the agenda? Hearing none. Christie, call the roll.
Trustee Husani? Trustee Gutierrez?
Yes.
Trustee Porter?
Yes.
Trustee Kemper?
Yes.
Trustee Bancole?
Yes.
Trustee Prigi?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Public hearing, proposal to establish Special Service Area 8, Court J, Tanglewood. We have a motion to open the public hearing. to
So
consider
moved. Second.
Establishment of Special Service Area. We have a motion and a second. Christie, call the roll.
Trustee Gutierrez?
Yes.
Trustee Porter?
Yes.
Trustee Kemper?
Yes.
Trustee Bancole?
Yes.
Trustee Prigi?
Yes.
Trustee Husani?
Yes.
Oh, very good. We'll have an explanation of the purpose of the public hearing and Special Service Area. Juliana, is that you? Is that Bernie? Okay.
So in 1972, there was created a subdivision which was called the Tanglewood subdivision. And then and then it was developed with townhomes primarily, and has functioned pretty much from that time until today as a fairly complete development. About 4 years ago, DuPage, Habitat for Humanity, came to the village, petitioned the village for a special use for a townhome development and a re-subdivision of part of that Tanglewood subdivision, a substantial part of it. And that resulted in a special use for a PUD development and a re-subdivision of part of the Tanglewood subdivision, and also resulted in a final plat and new covenants for the Tanglewood subdivision. Part of those covenants for the Tanglewood subdivision and part of the special use process included the requirement and the agreement that there would be a special service area for the entire Tanglewood subdivision. That is the portion that was developed by DuPage Habitat for Humanity and the remainder of it. And so probably about 65 days or 70 days ago, the village board considered a proposal to propose the establishment of the special service area, and then that resulted in a requirement that notices be sent out to everyone and that a hearing be held this evening. So the purpose of the public hearing is to give an opportunity to those people who are affected, who live in that area, or anyone else, to basically learn about it and also to make comments or ask questions or examine witnesses or anyone else who has any information concerning the creation of the special service area. But basically, the purpose of the special service area is to serve as a backup system so that if the association, the homeowners association in the subdivision does not provide for certain services, that the municipality could go in and perform those services that are specified in the notice that was sent to all of the taxpayers that paid taxes on the real estate in the preceding tax year. And there's an explanation in that notice of what all of those are, and coincidentally, they are also the same requirements, I believe, that are set forth in the covenants of the subdivision that the homeowners association is responsible for. So the special service area, as I said, serves as a backup, and it is authorized, or would be authorized if adopted by the village board, to provide for, as I said, a backup, which would take place if there was non-performance, some notification to the homeowners association, and then if there was non-performance, the village could go in and do whatever would be called for under the special service area and the covenants, as well as a feature that would allow the village to tax the homeowners for the amounts that would be required to perform those services. And that tax could take place probably after the services are provided because of the time differential that takes place. In other words, the services might be provided, the city only levies taxes generally towards the end of a year, and then those taxes become a lien in January 1, but they are not collected until beginning in May of the following year. So that's pretty much the explanation of the purpose of the public hearing and the special service area. Now, there's also on the agenda an explanation concerning the notices. So, first of all, maybe I could ask how many people are here concerning the special service area? Okay, a fair number. So it looks like about 6, 7, 8 people are here. So all of you received notices that were required to be given when the village board passed the proposing ordinance. Those notices were given by the village clerk, and she has with her, I believe, a publisher's certificate, which indicates that they were published, the notice was published in the newspaper at least 15 days before this public hearing, as well as notices that were mailed out probably to the people that are here and many, many other people, which she did do. And she has the affidavits, and they're also attached to the ordinance. So that's the purpose of the notices. So I guess the next question would be whether or not the village has received any written objections to the formation or the creation of the special service area.
We have not received any rejections, no.
Any written
No.
objections?
Nope.
None, okay. So if we, and then the next item is persons desiring to be heard with an opportunity to present testimony, examine witnesses. So I understand there is a sign-up sheet, and I don't know who signed it,
I have
but,
one.
oh, you do?
I know Miss Jennifer has signed it.
Okay,
So we can
so
start
if you
with her.
wish to come and make a statement or ask any questions, please feel free to do so and identify yourself.
I don't think the microphone is on.
You guys hear me? Yeah. Can you guys hear me? Yeah. All right. So I'm Jennifer Tack, I'm the Associate Director of Untitled Chapter, and I thank the village, the trustees, and the mayor for the support that you guys have given us in this development. I am coming with a concern that we're not opposed to the SSA, but we are concerned with the potential financial burden that is put on the families and future, and hopefully we'll never have to put the SSA in place. I also think that some clarity around when that levy would be put in place and how the collections would take place.
Sure, sure. So let me answer that. So currently, there is a homeowners association. That homeowners association has certain functions to perform. those functions are fairly well set out in the covenants for the subdivision. And I don't think that the village would be much involved unless the homeowners association did not fulfill their obligations under the covenants. And then if they did not, and it could be whatever is required under the covenants, if they did not, and the village learned of it, and the village desired to come in and do something, I believe they would give notice to the homeowners association to see whether or not they would do it. And then if they would not, the village would be authorized to go in and to perform those functions. And as I said before, the mechanism is that the village could front the money to do that if they desired. And if they did, then at some point they would be able to levy a tax. So the mechanics might be, let's say it's the summertime, and in the summertime, let's say the homeowners association wasn't plowing snow. Well, they wouldn't be doing that in the summertime, that'd be in the wintertime. But, or maybe they weren't taking care of the detention for water or whatever may be required there. The village could go in, perform that function, they would know how much it costs to do, and then when the village came time in, say, November, December, to pass their tax levy ordinance, they would be able, because there would be the establishment of a taxing district, Special Service Area 8 taxing district, to levy a tax at that time. And the amount of the tax could be up to $200,000, because that's the max. But it would actually reflect whatever the expense was to the village of doing the work. So let's say the work was $15,000 or $20,000. The village could levy a tax for that amount of money. And that levy would be delivered to the county clerk. The county clerk would extend the tax, and it would be collected in May and in September in 2 installments from all of the property owners in the area based on their assessed valuations. And that's what would happen. And it would likely not be ongoing unless there was a chronic problem. And then it could be ongoing. But that's pretty much the mechanism of it. And the special service area would be, if the village board were to pass the ordinance, the special service area would be created. It would be in existence. And that would happen currently. But it would only be a backup so that there would be the mechanism for the village to levy that tax.
So it's not the intention to pass the ordinance, put it into effect, this $300,000 reserve, and that's kind of how the verbiage is read, if people are receiving it.
Yeah,
That
no.
the initial year, there's this up to $200,000 reserve.
No, it doesn't say reserve. It just says that the first year could be up to. Yeah, no,
Okay.
it would not happen that way. Okay?
Thank you, Jennifer.
Okay. Is there anyone else wishing to speak on the SSA? Okay.
Or ask questions.
Any questions on the SSA? Very good.
So F on the agenda. Go ahead.
Okay, come on up. State your name.
My name is Pedro, and good evening to everyone. I own 3 houses around the area. Now I own 2.
When you say around the area, does that mean in the area, in Tanglewood?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I own in Tanglewood, and I pay association in 2 of them, and not in that one that I'm living now. And
Did you get a notice?
Yes.
Oh, you did, okay.
Okay.
And
TJ?
the thing is that I
Can I get
live
this?
in one of the areas that they're building now. My question is, when they gonna finish building that, because I have the most affected neighborhood, because they're digging holes around my house, and they cover, but they don't cover properly, they don't pack, they don't
So I think the person who's doing the construction of that project is DuPage Habitat for Humanity. I
Okay.
believe the lady who spoke right before you is from DuPage, so maybe she could answer the question. Can you answer his question?
They being both on my house, I live 27
Okay.
the most affected house. It's cutting the trees, burning the bushes, and making people out there. Now we can decide what is the cutting now. But when they wanna not finish, but then cut the trees down and make more.
So just that comment about this week, we're connecting power to the two units that are right next to you. And our director of construction was actually out there yesterday, filling it in, so I will follow up with them. They should be
No,
closed soon.
because you can see that, the next to my basement.
Actually, none of this has to do with the special service area. Do you have any questions about this? So maybe two things. You could ask us whatever you want to ask about the special service area, and then if you don't have anything to ask us, you can have a conversation with the lady.
After. Thank you, Pedro. Thank you.
Very good, very good. Yes, sir. Please step up to the microphone, state your name.
Good evening, everybody. My
evening.
name is Sayed Meg. I live in Court J, Hamburg town. Actually, I was out of town, I don't know detail of this one. What was the reason why this meeting was held?
Well, first of all, did you get a notice in the mail?
I took today.
You did, okay, so you've got it.
You got
Yeah. All right, all right.
Secondly, I'm sorry to apologize for this. Secondly, will the village provide the residents any legal assistance to be help us what we have to make decisions for about merge with the village or stay with the association?
As far as decision-making, the homeowners association, which I presume you belong to if you own property there. Do you own the property?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so do you pay an assessment to the homeowners association? So that homeowners association is really the group that you would deal with concerning all the covenants and the things, the services that they provide for the development. The village's involvement would only be if the homeowners association did not do what they're supposed to do. That's the only time the village would be involved. And if that were to happen, then in all likelihood, you may not be contacted or you may not have any voice in that, but you're always welcome to come to a village board meeting. The village board meeting meets twice a month, and always come and tell whatever your concerns are, or you can go to the village manager and talk to the village manager, or talk to the mayor, or anyone. I mean, because this is a public agency, and we're open usually 4 or 5 days a week, and
If it is, the association is fair to do whatever the village requires. So what will be the legal consequences for the residents over there?
the legal consequences are that if this is created, which is the intention of the village to do that, and to pass an ordinance probably tonight, if this is created, it creates another layer of taxation over that property, your property. So there's another little, on your tax bill, there will be another taxing district. The taxing district that will be created, the Special Service 8 taxing district, will not likely be levying any taxes unless the homeowners association does not perform their function. So it's not our intention to actively do anything out there to incur any expense for the homeowners, only if the homeowners association does not perform them. That would be the only reason why we would. And then if the village did that, then the village would, on a subsequent date, levy an amount of money to cover the village's expenses to do that, which would be spread over all the homeowners. And that's pretty much the situation.
Thank you very much. One more additional question and can take, I'm sorry for that. For example, can you guys give some time to the residents over their court case, so they have call meeting and they can discuss under the legal advice what we're supposed to do? Is it possible for you guys to give us some time?
Well, I mean, what we normally do is we send out these notices, and most people get them, and they have many, many days in advance to decide what they want to do. There's also a period of time that it doesn't take effect for 60 days. If there's a procedure in the law that would allow the homeowners and the residents out there to try and stop it. And that's a 60-day period following today's hearing. So you do have that time if you want, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the village won't pass the ordinance now, and then you have your time in which to do whatever it is that you may want to do.
Time will be start from today or from tomorrow?
It would start from the date of the public hearing, which is today, so 60 days from today.
Thank you very much.
Mhm.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
This is a nice backup for protect your property values. Okay. I think we've heard,
Is there anyone else that wants to speak?
very good.
There's no one else? Okay.
They may have had their, it's nice that you all came out for this. Motion to close.
Now, the next item on the agenda is F, which is the determination of all protests and objections. And from what I understand, you've received none, is that
None.
Correct.
And there
Correct.
currently aren't any. Okay, so,
No.
So then we have,
But before we move to G, I'd just like to make a statement. I do just want to thank all the residents from Court J that came out and addressed their concerns. These are concerns that we need to hear, so thank you for taking the time to come out tonight. You know, I know that you asked about when the levy will be put in place, what will be the, you know, total amount, and you know, we don't want to surprise people with, you know, an additional economic burden. You know, it really isn't our intention to create more taxes. It's really just if the homeowners association fails to provide this specific area with the services that they need. And I think Attorney Paul has done a really great job of explaining that. So again, I just want to thank you for addressing your concerns and taking the time to come out here tonight.
Thank you.
Another item that maybe ought to be mentioned, on the notices, the village board, when we had the proposing ordinance, did ask about additional notices that might be sent out to folks. And it's my understanding, well, first of all, we asked DuPage Humanity for anyone who they had pending contracts with concerning the sale of any of their units. And they did provide us with a list of those. Among the people on the list, we had already sent, I believe, 2 notices to them previously. And on that list, there were like 2 others that we determined lived in that area. And you had provided us with their names and their email addresses, and I believe the village clerk emailed them copies of that notice also, even though the law wouldn't necessarily require that they receive those notices. And then my understanding is that the village manager arranged for a sign to be placed out in that area to further notify the people.
Very good.
I forgot to mention that when we were talking about
I
the
have
notices.
a question, Attorney Paul. The tax that we're proposing, is that a one-time tax, and then once that situation has been cured, or is it, what will keep it from becoming a reoccurring tax? Because we all know what happens once a tax is imposed. It's very hard to walk it back. So what guarantees do we give the property owners that this tax, once we've set it in motion to cure a specific problem, will not become a recurring tax? And then what is the process for walking that tax back or removing the tax from the property owners?
There's no process for removing the tax other than abating the tax, and you would have to do that once it's levied. In other words, if it's levied in December, you would have a period of time where you could abate the tax. I think the real issue here is it's not intended to be a tax that is recurring absent the non-performance of the homeowners. We do have other special service areas in town, as you know. We've got a number of them. We have special service area number 7, which covers the veranda project, and that's been in place for probably 3 or 4 years. No tax has ever been levied in that area to date. Other areas, which is 1 through 6, I believe, those are levied to a great extent, my understanding is, because the folks who lived out there wanted the special service area. And so it covers, in those areas, it covers some ongoing expenses, like the collection of garbage or the plowing of snow or whatever they've got. Some of them I don't think have a homeowners association, maybe some of them do. But this is clearly a backup special service area, as is veranda. There's 2 more that are coming up. One is going to be covering, or maybe 3 more. One is going to be covering Lake and Bartels, that intersection, because they also have obligations with an owners association. The one at the gun range one, which is Bartels, Lake and Bartels, Lake and Gary, and also, I believe, the homes that are being built, the 20 homes on Wise Road. So each of those will have a special service area also, and it'll be under the same type of system whereby there won't be a levy unless there's some services that are necessary in the view of the village that are not being performed and that are required to be performed by their own companies.
Trustee Porter, just to further answer your question, so we're headed into the budget process, and the village board reviews each of the SSAs individually to determine whether you, us as the village, choose to levy a tax. So you at minimum would have, on an annual basis, the ability to evaluate each of those special service areas to determine what you wanted to do and whether there was a need to levy a tax for that.
Okay, that's the answer I'm looking for.
Right.
Okay.
And further, during that budget process, is that when we would determine if those taxes need to be set in motion?
Right.
Based on conditions at the
Yes.
time? We would look at those
Yes.
because it's,
And it's usually for a health and safety issue. So for example, if garbage wasn't being picked up appropriately or something like that, then that's when we would have a discussion as to, with the homeowners association, as to whether there was a need for that or not. And in the past, there's been lots of discussion prior to one being put in place, or taxes imposed in place to try to resolve the issues with the homeowners association and the property owners that are there.
and then when is the assessment applied to the homeowners once we determine that it's necessary
It's levied along with the property taxes, so it's on that schedule.
with the regular property tax schedule? Okay, thank you.
Very good. Anyone else?
Yes, one more thing. I would like to propose that if we do pass this tonight, that the residents within this area receive an additional communication from the village, letting them know that this has passed, but also maybe just a little bit more information about the specific services that we
They've
would-
already got it. They have all of that. It's all been sent to them. They've got all of that. They've got them with them.
Right, but just like the gentleman who, Mr. Syed said, he just got his communication
Right.
yesterday, the day before, because he was out of town. Right, he was out of town. So we can assume that everyone has been notified, but maybe not everyone has read these communications. So I
Right.
do think that if
But
we do go
all I'm saying is
ahead-
that he has it, so he can look at it.
I understand,
Yeah.
I understand, but I don't think anyone wants a surprise tax.
No.
You know, you know, let's just, put our best foot forward and just try to make sure that everyone is fully informed about this new taxing body that is going to impact them. So I think that if we do pass this tonight, we should just put forth another communication, letting them know about what's going on.
We're passing the opportunity to do that. We're not passing the tax.
Hopefully it won't.
There's someone who wants.
Another question? Aye.
I'm McCall Stokes, I'm the revitalization manager with the Habitat for Humanity. I'm wondering, is it possible to also provide translated copies of the notices? Many, there are many homeowners that are unfortunately where English is not their first language, and I think just in understanding the processes of the people who are just trying to provide for the residents.
Thank you.
Are we good?
No, I have a question.
All right, motion to close?
There's a lady, no.
Oh,
He didn't hear.
okay.
My question is, you said that we have a 60-day window to vote. What if over 50% of the homeowners vote for no?
Sorry, he didn't hear.
Oh, I may hear something. Okay.
Thank you.
Oh, good.
Do I need to repeat everything?
please? Thank
Sure. My name is Miriam, and I'm a future home buyer. My question to you was that you're giving us 60 days to vote. What if 50% or over the 50% of the homeowners decide they don't want the services?
Right, so in the notice that was sent out, there is a paragraph about that.
Right.
And it says, if a petition signed by at least 51% of the electors and 51% of the owners within the boundaries of the special service area is filed with the village clerk within 60 days following the final adjournment of the public hearing objecting to the creation of the special service area, the levy or imposition of a tax for the provisions of special services, or to propose increases in the tax rate, then no such special service area may be created, or tax may be levied or imposed, nor the rate increased.
Okay.
Did you understand what that just said? Because I have a concern with the legalese that goes out in these for the average common person to decipher, what's actually being said. So and not to insult you or anything, but when he just read that statement, did that make sense to you? And do you think your neighbors and the average person in the area would understand that paragraph?
I did understand, but maybe I was concerned, or I should rephrase that, when I heard everybody say that if it passes today, that means that it'll pass everybody here on the board voting yes. That doesn't mean that it's automatically passed, correct?
It means that it is passed, but but you have an opportunity, the homeowners and the residents have an opportunity within 60 days to file the petition that's called for in your notice. Each of you has that notice. It's very unlikely that you will do that because it's a high threshold to do, quite frankly. So I think it is somewhat unlikely. I think you should be, well, that's really what I can say to you.
Okay. Okay, and thank you, everybody, and thank you that you're very concerned about the homeowners. So thank you.
Yeah, a big part of this is protecting the value of your properties down the road. Yes, sir, come on up. Just state your name.
My name is Jose Ruiz, and I currently live at 1321. And I think that we should pass this ordinance tonight, because when I sat here when they were given the permissions to start building,
Sure.
and one of the things that I asked Attorney Paul was, right now, I'm part of the original owners that was there before they started building. The homeowners association that you speak of, we don't recognize that. We've never come to terms since that time until now. So in our mind, there is no homeowners association, and we would like for you to step in.
And we can if that,
And I think
Okay.
that's,
I believe there's a new homeowners association coming together with Habitat's leadership.
since that should have been together right after they started building, and it's been 2 years and nothing has been done about it.
Is there the old association?
There is the association that you talked about,
Yeah.
That collapsed 10 years ago.
but that's been defunct.
Well, as you know, that's the theory of this whole process.
Yeah,
So
because
thank
they have promised things like they were gonna leave parking for us. That hasn't been done yet. And I
Okay.
believe that you answered the question to me that if they don't provide parking, what would happen? A special assessment area would be needed.
Well, that would be, we'd have to look at the covenants and see what's provided in them. And the other thing too is, and so just you know, even if there was something that we could do, we're not obligated to do it.
You're not, but if
We're
there's
not.
no association,
So for instance, if there was something there that they didn't do, and the village decided that that's not anything that we want to get involved in, we would not. So it's not, we're never going to be obligated to
Right.
do it. It would have to be something that the board would
Would have to
decide
vote on.
they want to do.
but that goes to then if there is no association, wouldn't you guys just?
Well, that is one of the reasons why we want the special
Yeah,
service
and I
area.
think we need it.
And is because in some instances, there are viable homeowners associations that fail.
Yeah,
In this instance, you're telling me that right now, it's pretty problematic,
that is, yep,
the situation.
Exactly.
So that is one of the purposes of doing the special service.
and I think that is the reason why we should pass it tonight.
Thank you for your comment. And I believe Habitat could probably speak to the coming together with the new association.
I'm sorry.
Maybe at another time.
I'm so sorry.
Sure, come on up.
I just wanted to
Don't be
mention-
sorry. I don't know you. Hi, I'm going to be your neighbor pretty soon. But I just wanted to mention, Habitat for Humanity has been, telling everybody about the meetings. Nobody goes. Nobody assists to those meetings. So how is supposed to work if the neighbors aren't interested in coming to the meetings for the homeowners association? I just wanted to mention that.
Thank you.
It's a work in progress. Habitat's doing a marvelous job out there. Please come up.
Hi, my name is Claudia.
Hi, Claudia.
One of the legacy owners. I would hope that, living there has a little more weight to the statements than, somebody that potentially would move into a situation that they don't really live every day and see. But part of our issues and, going back to your concerns, and thank you very much, you guys have been lovely tonight. The legacy homeowners are long-term, residents, English is not primarily their language. We have a, good cultural mix. They rely on their, kids to translate, to speak to them. Answering your question, I've been to college and reading that paragraph, I can tell you I would have to do some more research to be able to answer comfortably that I understood what that stated. Clearly, it was intended to be, some type of legal, document, but again, it's not for the average, folk to understand thoroughly, at 100%. So I really think seeing properties, we live next to one of their properties, the grass is above the fence, the weeds are, there's pests, we live in a townhome community, So what happens to pests, you know, when they come over in a townhouse? So I think it's sad to say, but there's more confidence in the village at this point than there is with DuPage Habitat Humanity.
Well, we do work together, and our goal is to continually improve your area. We want to work with you. The SSA is a nice backup to the homeowners association that's being developed and will evolve as more people move in. And I have a lot of confidence that when people do move in, they'll want to be responsible for their area, and this is a tool they can use to do that. And so it's a learning process for everyone to make sure they do come to their homeowners association. And each of you that live there can certainly build that relationship with your neighbors. Get out of the house, you know, I mean, I've been sitting in my home like forever. It's time to get out, have a block party, do some things, and meet your neighbors. There are really a lot of lovely people in our town. And I've been to a few block parties this year, and they are marvelous for building relationships. And the mayor will show up if you go with the clerk and say, we want a block party, you know? So that's a great way to bring things together. And this is just a step in that process where the village and the homeowners association and the residents are there. We're all here to help you. We want to see the viability of your homes to grow, to become viable in the community. You don't want to lose the value that you have in your home. You want it to grow, okay?
Excuse me.
So what you do that,
Just real quick,
okay.
I just want to say, I know we're running out of time. Whether it's an SSA or working together to build up a homeowners association with Habitat, what we're trying to do here is to serve. And so if that tax, if it gets levied, it would get levied for the benefit of the people that live there, okay? And we're hearing from both sides. So I strongly suggest that what Trustee Bankel did when we first asked that these letters be sent out, which obviously it worked, that we send another one, and we have to translate. But if you have people that need to call us, we're here. Some of us speak a second language. I speak Spanish fluently. So have them reach out to us. That's what we're here for, to serve. So I really appreciate that all of you came, but I don't see a full agreement yet. And so we're going to need more feedback from you guys. And speaking to what the mayor said, we want to work with Habitat to build a strong homeowners association. But if not, we have an SSA to back us up.
Okay. So I think my final question is just clarity as a homeowner, you know, if we have additional questions, if we, you know, aren't seeing the expectations met. I mean, there's Habitat, there's us, and then there's the village, right? How, if these two aren't working, how do we get the village to assist us, you know, to come into an accord? Is there, I mean, what's the process? I know earlier in the meeting.
I'm knocking on the mayor's door, I'll tell you.
Come email us.
We have the clerk.
Send an email, call, come to town hall,
Okay,
reach out to the clerk. That's what we're here for. Put us to
okay,
work.
okay,
Yeah, you can take them.
all right.
That's my email and everything. Uh-huh.
We are a
here
representative
for you
body of
guys,
our
yes.
community, and we want to see you be as successful with your new home and your community in an exceptional way. And so there isn't anybody you can't reach out to on this board. So with that, I want to thank everybody that stepped forward. It's not always an easy thing to do in an environment that's pretty official looking, but we all live in this community. We all are here for each of you. And I can say that without a doubt in my mind. I don't care whose door you knock on. Many people come and knock on the mayor's door, if you can believe it or not. I try to stay in the backyard. But I love it when people let me know what's going on. And Habitat's doing a great job for us. I call it the revitalization of that area. If you look up the terminology of revitalization, we don't like the way it was. We want it to improve, and we need each of you to help us do that. That's what community is about. And I encourage you to find a way to have a block party. It may be difficult with all the construction, but I will definitely show up. So with that, thank you all for coming out tonight. I love the words of our board members tonight, and I love the words of each of you. You care, and we do. So a motion to close and finally adjourn the public hearing on the establishment of the Special Service Area A. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second.
Trustee Porter?
Yes.
Trustee Kemper?
Yes.
Trustee Bancole?
Yes.
Trustee Frigie?
Yes.
Trustee Husseini?
Yes.
Trustee Gutierrez?
Yes.
Motion carried.
That was a unanimous vote. We are here for you. Thank you for coming out tonight. You don't need to stay for the rest of the meeting. The hearing is over.
Thank
Although
you all.
might
but
want
it-
to stay for the rest of the meeting because the ordinance will be on the agenda, creating a special service area.
Thank you. Very good. Presentations. This is the part I like. Swearing in of police officers.
Good evening, everyone. It's a busy and exciting night for the police department tonight, as we'll be promoting two very deserving members of the police department. One of those individuals will be promoted to the rank of lieutenant and the other to the rank of sergeant. These promotions are due to the retirement of Lieutenant Bill Weil. And while it's always sad to say goodbye to those who retire, one of the positive byproducts of retirements is the ability to promote others who have worked hard and eagerly waited for their opportunity to be promoted. And tonight, two members of the police department will be awarded for that hard work and loyalty to our department and our community. In addition to the promotional swearing-ins, we will also be swearing in two new police officers. I am equally as excited to welcome these two new members to our department. We are proud of the fact that our officers come from a wide variety of backgrounds and experiences. One of these officers comes to us as part of our lateral entry program, in which we hire already trained and experienced police officers, while the other is a brand-new officer just embarking on a career in law enforcement. This is an exciting time for our department, and I'm confident that each of them will provide outstanding service to the residents of Hanover Park. So if I can begin by asking Vic DeVito and his family to come up. Before I ask the mayor to swear him in, I'm going to read just a little bit of information about Vic. Come around this side. Tonight, we'll be promoting Vic DeVito to the rank of police lieutenant. Vic is joined by his wife Jessica and his children Gavin and Truman. And Everett, I believe, is at home. Everett's at home tonight. They're worried about Everett's behavior, so he couldn't make it tonight. But a little bit about Vic's career. He's been with the department for just over 13 years. He was sworn in as a police officer on March 17th, 2008. Vic has spent time in the operations division as a police officer, special operations group officer, a detective, as well as a patrol sergeant. He most recently served as a special operations or investigations sergeant. During his career, Vic has worked in a variety of important roles. He has served as a supervisor of the department's recruitment team. He was also the field training coordinator for 5 years, and during that time, we made several improvements to the program and changes to the program, including adding an additional 2-week administrative training period, and Vic really was the one responsible for all that. Vic is the recipient of 2 life-saving awards, one being the rescue of a missing Alzheimer's patient, and also a save using Narcan spray on an individual who was suffering from an overdose. Vic is the recipient of the 2015 All-Strain Award for Police Officer of the Year for our department, as well as the Cook County Award of Merit. Vic has received numerous letters of recognition, and he is working towards his bachelor's degree in criminal justice, which he will complete this October. So I could please ask the mayor to swear him in.
Well, it'd be my honor. Make sure I can. Yeah. We'll do this till we get it right. And the big question I always have, you know, Cubs or Sox? All right, okay, we got it right. I have to do that. Gentlemen, how are you? This is an important night for Dad, family. I state your name.
I, Victor DeVito,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and that I will faithfully discharge best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations. Well done. You have a chance to draw blood here tonight. Okay, let's get a photo with the family. Anyone else here with the family you want to bring in? No, it's okay. Okay. So move over, all right. Oh, can I screw it up? Give me the opportunity, I won't screw it up. Congratulations, please. Chief. Well done. Thank you. Congratulations. Nice to see you, boy. Thank you.
If I can now ask Dan Burrs and his family to come forward. Dan is joined up here tonight by his wife Natalie. Welcome. Dan and Natalie have been married for 23 years and they have 2 children, aged 18 and 21, who are currently away at college, so they could not be here this evening. Tonight we're going to be promoting Dan Burrs to the rank of police sergeant, but first a little bit about his career. Dan has been with our department for almost 25 years. He was sworn in as a police officer on October 7th, 1996. Dan has worked in patrol on both day and night shifts, and he has served as the assistant team leader on Team A for 3 years. Assistant team leader serves in the absence of the sergeant. He runs the shift. So Dan did that for 3 years. Dan is a state certified crash investigator and has been a member of the DuPage County Crash Investigation Team since 2010, in which he investigates serious crashes throughout the county. Dan is the recipient of a Department Life-Saving Award for conducting CPR on an individual suffering from a heart attack. He's received a department commendation for capturing a purse snatcher while shopping off-duty. And Dan is the 2019 All-Strand Award recipient for the police department, and he has received numerous letters of recognition. Dan holds a bachelor's degree in criminal justice from Bradley University, and he will be serving as the sergeant of Team C on the night shift. Dan has had a highly successful career thus far, and I'm excited to be promoting him to the position of sergeant.
Outstanding. Support. Okay. How's their socks? All right. Oh, you want me to do this first? Please raise your right hand. I state your name.
I, Dan Burns,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support
that I will support
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of the office of police sergeant
the duties of the office of police sergeant
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
I know you will. Congratulations. Where's Rick Roberts when I need him? The moment, right? Outstanding.
Sorry, I need my reader.
All right. Let's move over here. Okay. Oh. That's up to you if you want it on or off.
We're gonna take it off.
I figured we'd want one.
If I could now ask David Torres and his family to come forward.
Welcome, welcome, young man. There you go.
Hey, James.
Very good. Nice to have you.
David joined the police department on August 16th, 2021. David recently relocated to Illinois from California. David comes to us from the Los Angeles Police Department, where he was a police officer since 2013. During his time with LAPD, David served in roles with the Patrol Division and Administrative Services. David is a graduate of the University of Laverne in California, where he received a bachelor's degree in public administration. David is bilingual, and his Spanish skills will certainly be of great use to our police department. David is joined tonight by his wife Natalie and his son Maximiliano and family, including his father James, who is a retired detective from the Los Angeles Police Department after serving 33 years. Welcome, David.
All the way from LA. I don't know, do I ask Cubs or Sox? What are you gonna tell me?
No comment.
No comment. I love it. It's nice to have you with us, coming all that way. We do appreciate your interest in Hanover Park. Hope you'll be here for a long time. I state your name.
I, David J. Torres,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and I will faithfully discharge
the duties of the office of police officer
duties of the office of police officer
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you,
Let's
sir.
drive it. Go ahead. We're gonna stand all together. You're never too young to pin the banjo. All right, let's get the whole family up here.
If I could point out, David has several family members here who all came from Los Angeles for the event. So,
Oh, nice. Everybody moving west?
and David's sister wanted me to point out she's been with LAPD for 15 years. I don't know who's protecting LA, but
You've been with LAPD
Yes.
for 15 years? This is your sister? Congratulations. We highly respect police in our town.
Es police too.
Ah,
Es police too.
yeah. It's a pleasure to meet you all.
My mom.
All right, is there room for the mayor here? I don't know. We got, Dave, you gotta get that wide angle lens going. Thank you all very much. Thank you all. Thank you.
if I can now have Shauna Ellison and her family come forward. Shauna joined the police department on September 7th, 2021. Shauna began the Suburban Law Enforcement Academy at the College of DuPage on September 13th. She will be training at the Police Academy for the next 14 weeks before beginning field training in December. Shauna has most recently worked as a child caregiver for the last 5 years. Shauna is a graduate of Evangel University in Missouri, where she received a bachelor's degree in criminal justice. Shauna also has experience working as a youth care specialist at the Boys and Girls Town of Missouri. Her experience working with the youth will certainly be a great asset to our police department. Shauna is joined tonight by her parents, John and Sue, along with her brothers and sisters, and I know there's some other friends that are here. I can ask the mayor to swear in Shauna.
I'll be happy to. Very good. Up your side. All right, all right. Where's Rick Roberts when I need him? Rick Roberts was a retired trustee, a great Sox fan.
As it.
Okay, I state your name.
I, Shauna Ellison,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of the office of police officer
the duties of the office of police officer
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome aboard.
Smart.
Somebody brought the readers. This is fantastic. Very good. Let's get this photo together. Family all join in. Are you a sister? Yes. Very nice, very nice. Lots of sisters, right?
Mom, sisters, and brothers.
Oh, nice. Come on, you. More the merrier. Okay. Very good. Well done. Thank you, thank you.
Welcome aboard.
Are you? Can I have the new officers come up and the lieutenant and the sergeant, not so new? We'll get a photo together. Looking good. All right, we're under attack. Okay. Thank you, gentlemen and ladies. We're gonna do this till we get it right with all these photographs. Chief, are you done?
I'm finished, thank you.
I want to let everybody know that quality policing is a key component of living in Hanover Park. We come out on top. Recent reports are very positive about the safety of our community. What's the most recent report, Chief? Number what, 48? 46? Across the country, we even have a lower number for communities our size. We weren't always that way, but Hanover Park, we respect, we honor, and we support our police department. every board member, from the mayor down to the trustees, to the staff. We support policing in Hanover Park, quality education, quality training, certification programs. We invest seriously. We have funds that we put aside for police cars and vehicles and support at an exceptional level, and it's there. We don't have to go begging when it comes time, that we have quality tools for our police officers. So I want to thank the families. I love it when the families come out to support our officers. And some of you came a long way from California. And I would say in your family from California, policing is quite deep across the board, and it's nice to see. Hanover Park is here for you, and God knows the mayor has to call a cop once in a while, don't he? You never know. You got crazy people that are banging the mayor's door. But I want to thank you all. I hope you celebrate well, because today is the beginning of quite an honor working for the Hanover Park Police Department. Thank you. Very good. Okay, do we have anyone for town hall? No one for town hall? No one called in?
No.
Jennifer, I want to thank Habitat for coming out today. Thank you. I think you still have work to do. Let me know how I can help. Okay, village president's report. Ugh. Okay, you may have seen my name in the newspaper today because I voted no on the Metro Board for a 21.4% increase for the CEO. I thought that was a bit much, but it's all good. It's all good news. Other than that, a lot of things going on. I don't really have my report, my list put together for tonight, but Hanover Park is in good shape. We're working on our budget, and hopefully we'll get to the other end of that. And I know we've got a good agenda tonight, so let's move along. So I move on this vote items on the consent agenda.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Then
I'd like to ask for item 8.5 be removed.
885. Okay. Very good. I know we've transitioned to making that change. At this time, I would seek that we ask acceptance of the agenda if we, in the future, we want to pull something off, we do it at that time. Thank you.
Actually, you can't pull it off at any time.
Yeah, you can't
Before
pull
the
it off.
vote.
I know, but we've been evolving away from that. Please call the roll. Christie?
Was there a motion and a second?
Yep, Kemper and Preview.
And you're voting on 8A1 through 8A4?
Correct.
Correct.
Trustee Kemper?
Yes.
Trustee Bancole?
Yes.
Trustee Prigi?
Yes.
Trustee Husani?
Yes.
Trustee Gutierrez?
Yes.
Trustee Porter?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. 885, move to pass an ordinance establishing special service area number 8 in the village of Hanover Park, DuPage County, Illinois.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion?
Yes, in light of the public hearing that we had earlier, I'd like to suggest, I'd like to recommend that the ordinance be amended to include a plain language summary that will go out with this before we pass it. I think it's incumbent upon us to make sure that not only is it a plain language, but it's also bilingual to address the needs of that community as some of the wishes that were expressed by the members of the public hearing. So those are my recommendations for an amendment to the ordinance for plain language summary And my mic wasn't on for any of that, so I don't know if you heard me, I'm sorry.
We got it. So there's a motion for a plain language summary as a part of the ordinance. Pardon me? About a what?
Bilingual.
And bilingual. Do we have that motion? Do we have a second?
I'll second.
So we have a motion and a second. Discussion?
Mayor, would it be possible, given that there's 60 days, that we could move forward with the ordinance tonight and then send that information out so that the residents have that information to make a determination if they want to move forward with an objection to the special service area?
I think that would be prudent.
I'm just not sure what it would, because the public hearing has been closed, there really won't be another opportunity for them to come speak regarding it, but the information would be able to be there for them if they choose to object during that 60 days, that enhanced information as you are speaking to.
Well, I don't think that this deals with the objections, it deals with the presentation of the information to the community, not so much their objections, but so that each resident that is affected by this ordinance has a fair opportunity to both digest and understand exactly what the ordinance entails, and that it gets away, again, my concern is for some of the legalese in the ordinance for the average person to be able to decipher and to make sense of, as well as for those who English is not their first language, to be able to read that and understand it, as it was stated at the public hearing. And as I know is the case in many households in Hanover Park, you have elementary children that are reading things that come to the home and deciphering it and interpreting for the elder, or the responsible people in that household. And if we're in those cases, if we're expecting children to be able to explain some of the ins and outs of these ordinances, then I think we're doing a disservice to a segment of the community if we do not provide the dual language aspect to these ordinances and these notices when they go out. Now, if we pass it today and we go with your suggestion that we do that during the 60 days, to Trustee Bancoli's recommendation that we send out a second notice, the only way that I would be in agreement with passing this ordinance today is if we can come to an agreement that there will be a second notification that will go out per Trustee Bancoli's recommendation that will include both of these provisions that I've just recommended. So we send out a second notice, we do a summary, and we do it in dual language. Then I would be comfortable with passing the ordinance as it stands.
For clarification, and I think we might be on the same page, it's not another, because the public hearing has closed already, it would be information, a second correspondence or communication, it would, which could include a more generalized explanation or summary of the information of the legal document that's required to have been sent out for this, as well as put it in another language, but it would not be something that would be a notice for another public hearing.
I'm not asking for it.
I
I'm
just
not
wanted to be
asking
in
for
the,
another public hearing. No,
okay,
that was
yes.
not
I
my
think we
intention.
could send something out in summary format to everyone who received the information before, and do it, put it in Spanish. Is that what, when I hear, I mean, there's a lot of languages. I'm not quite sure what languages are spoken in that area, but in addition to English, but I think we have done Spanish also regularly, or in expanded. But just so everyone knows that what was sent out was the legal requirement that we had to, it had to read a certain way and couldn't be summarized and generalized in order to meet the obligations of setting up another taxing district. So Bernie, I would need you, I would look to you to help with that summary document, but
Can I ask that I see a copy of that before it goes out?
we may look to you to help us
Yeah,
translate.
because this is, working with immigrants, that's my forte. I'd like for it to be, like when you get a statement from, there's a settlement of blah, 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 and then has all the legal jargon, and on the bottom it says, what this means to you, what you can do. And so although we're not going for a second hearing, because the public hearing is closed, let them know they can still reach out, and they have 60 days. Yeah.
But it's difficult not crossing over into a legal, I guess I look to you, Bernie, as to
Yeah,
whether there's a
so-
way to do
so
this
these are
without.
these are very technical. They're not just technical insofar as the residents are concerned. They're technical insofar as the village is concerned. In other words, in order to create this in a proper way, there are certain forms and words and things that have to be provided in accordance with the statute. And therefore, providing it in a different form can be a problem. So, right now, if you pass the ordinance without any amendment, the homeowners and the residents have this 60-day period in which to exercise certain rights. If the notice that you want sent out concerns that, I think that can be done, you know, and can be done in both English and Spanish. And I would imagine it could be done probably within the next 15 days. So that
Yeah, we
they-
would do it on the early side so
Yeah.
that people have that information. How many notices went out?
47.
Right.
So, just to clarify, this 60-day window, it allows the residents, so if theoretically, if 51% of the residents did not agree with this and brought the village a petition.
It's 51% of the residents and 51% of the owners, both. I mean, the thing that I think the village board needs to understand too is that there is a public interest on the part of the village of Hanover Park as an entity to create this special service area. And generally speaking, most municipalities do not try and discourage the creation of the special service area by promoting people to object to them. Because if they object to them, the village does not obtain the desired mechanism that they need or think they need unless the village board doesn't think they need it. And if they don't think they need it, then they shouldn't be imposing it on any of these people. So I think that you have to come to some realization as to what it is that you, as a village board representing all the people of the village, want to do. Now, as far as these folks are concerned, yes, you can send them a second notice. But if you amend the ordinance, I think you're starting to sort of muck the system up. And I'll just say that because there is a process to this. 60 days ago, there was a proposing ordinance. In that proposing ordinance, the village board, acting as the village board, set forth the manner in which they wanted those notices to be sent out. That ordinance actually had all that information in it, how they would be sent out, to whom they would be sent out, and the exact form of the notice that would be sent out. And so that was really the time for all these questions to have been raised. And there were some questions raised at that time. I remember the questions being raised as to providing more notice than the statute required. And the more notice that was asked for was to basically go out and put some signs up, send some additional notices out to additional people, which was done, although not required by law. So I just think that you have to realize if it's your goal not to have this special service area, then you know, you probably should never pass the stuff in the first place.
I don't think that anyone, just a second, I don't think that anyone is suggesting
But if
that
you-
we don't want the special service area. That was not the intent of the suggestion. Suggestion was to make sure that the people who are receiving these notices understand what it is that they're receiving and what their responses and their responsibilities are. No one I did not suggest or intend to suggest that we were against the special service area going forward. But I also want to make sure that if it goes forward, that the people who are affected are fully informed as to what's transpired and what's happened, whether they're for or against. That's up to them. I don't live in the area, but I want to make sure that they're all represented and that all of the voices are heard. That was my intention.
Thank you, Trustee Porter, and I would just like to respond to Attorney Paul.
Sure.
Again, you use the term discourage. That's not what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to be fully informed about what I'm voting on and also what is going to impact an area of our community. So, again,
Right.
you cut me off. I wasn't done with my question. I was just trying to figure out the 60 days. If 51% of the residents and the homeowners, the property, whoever pays taxes, brings forth a petition that states that they don't want this,
Right.
what then happens? That's just what my
Then,
question.
then it doesn't happen. There is no special service area.
And I think the point of what Trustee Porter is making, and a lot of this was already discussed during the public hearing, but what Trustee Porter is bringing up, because of maybe somebody not understanding legal jargon, is to simplify it when we send out another notice, if we're going to send out another notice, to simplify the language so that the average person would understand the legal jargon better. And I think that that's all the intent of what Trustee Porter was looking for.
So, and so I know we have a new board, several new board members that have come on since this, but when this development was approved by the village board requested as part of that development and that approval that there be a special service area put in place to address issues if they come along later. So as just a general, as we move forward with development in town and we bring to the village board, and we have a strategic planning process that's coming up and we can have further discussion, you all will need to decide if you want to continue to have that requirement of having a special service area as part of the standard requirements that staff negotiates with that developer and requires upon that developer to put in place. And maybe we need to have some education earlier on for the residents as to what special service areas are, what they mean to them, and have some maybe even information on our website about special service areas so that it's more in general, because it's hard when it gets to the legal part of it, which was tonight, which was the official public hearing, because it has to have certain legal language and written based on statute language tonight. So I feel like we can do both, but it's unfortunate that we couldn't have had this other part before. So we can try to put some summary information in place if it's passed this evening. We can send it to the residents. They'll know it's maybe and worded and provided in another language. But I just want to be clear from the board that the public hearing has closed and whatever action is taken tonight is not going to go backwards in the process. I just don't know how that can. And just so the residents understand that as well.
That's understood.
Okay.
These members of our community have taken out from their time this evening to come and sit through this long meeting to voice their concerns. And I think it's incumbent upon us that we hear what they've come and what their comments have been, what their concerns are that they have stated, and that we as a board, as elected officials, are listening to them and taking those issues to heart and are responding to them. And so my request is an effort to do just that, to hear what our residents are saying and to understand their concerns and then give them an appropriate response to that. And from what I've heard, there is some ambiguity about this whole process, about what's going on, about people understanding what's going on. And I would like to make sure that when we send this out, we understand the public hearing is come and gone, that that window has closed, but there's still an opportunity for residents to express their displeasure, their concerns, whatever it may be during this 60-day window, that they still have an opportunity to express that on their behalf. And I want to make sure that you know, all of the residents within this SSA, proposed SSA, understand that and what their options are at this point.
Well, and to follow up on that, and I sent a couple texts around while we were sitting here, is that I've asked staff to follow up on the comments that I heard this evening and to have a conversation with Jennifer and her staff, because I did hear some things about the project and some different opinions of how things are going on down there. So I want to hear and have us maybe come together and have a conversation about what those issues mean and where they're coming from, so that everyone is heard from not this process essentially, but where they live and the project as it's moving forward.
Okay, at this point in time, I would ask that we withdraw the second and the amendment. We send, we pass this, and then we follow up with sending however it was stated, plain language and a summary. And I think there's nothing wrong with that. I think as we do that, people will see the benefit of having an SSA. I think it'll fully support that. We did hear one gentleman speak earlier about the value of keeping that property ship-shape. This whole area and habitat coming in was because that area was a complete disaster. It was like the homeowners association was collapsed. They buried the pool, they tore down the clubhouse. That's not how an exceptional community works. And so we can reinforce that with the SSA and plain language and what was the other thing? Plain language and a summary, bilingual, can certainly work. And I'm really pleased to hear Trustee Lisa asked to review that, as she's quite exceptional in reviewing.
So what will be the parameters of conducting that? How will that happen, other than?
Well, I think part of it was already discussed while we had the hearing.
So then why wouldn't we just leave the amendment in and just vote with the amendment? Why wouldn't we just move forward with that? If that's what I believe what we're all agreeing on, why wouldn't we just move forward with voting?
But we need to what?
With the amendment.
Well, the amendment would be to send out.
I think it's sounding like it, from Bernie's comments, that it might muddy the legal process
Right.
of it, having the ordinance have additional language about a summary document.
I think it's the direction.
So the direction's already been established.
Yeah. We want to keep the language simple, but the direction of the board is to provide that summary, that language, that bilingual.
So it will occur without.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
keeping them.
And that process will be, I will work with the village attorney to come up with a summary of the SSA process or documents and what their options are. I will have it translated into Spanish, and we will send it to the 47 recipients that received the original notice.
I've not crossed this bridge before, so I really appreciate her coming up with that suggestion, that amendment. But I think it's great discussion tonight. I think our community is evolving. Do we want to communicate as effectively and efficiently with our residents? Absolutely. So I want to thank everyone on this board for supporting us.
And with that, I'll withdraw my second.
Kurt, would you withdraw that one?
Will we have a report on this? Is it too ambitious to think that we could have a report back on this by the next board meeting?
No.
On the
No.
progress of the?
I'm hoping it's done by then, because that way everyone will have it with enough information by the time it gets through the mail, and that we're not sending it out at the end of their 60 days.
Okay. With that, then I would withdraw the amendment.
Absolutely. Okay, thank you. Very good. Good discussion. So we're back to the main motion. Any other discussion? Christie, please call the roll.
Trustee Bancole?
Yes.
Trustee Frigie?
Yes.
Trustee Husani?
Yes.
Trustee Gutierrez?
Yes.
Trustee Porter?
Yes.
Trustee Kemper?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Very good. 886, approve the warrant 9/16/2021 in the amount of $703,955.34.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Questions on the warrant? Hearing none. Trustee, call the roll.
Trustee Frigie?
Yes.
Trustee Husani?
Yes.
Trustee Gutierrez?
Yes.
Trustee Porter?
Yes.
Trustee Kemper?
Yes.
Trustee Bancole?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. 887, approve July 2021 P cards in the amount of $22,244.22.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions on the P cards? Hearing none.
Trustee Husani?
Yes.
Trustee Gutierrez?
Yes.
Trustee Porter?
Yes.
Trustee Kemper?
Yes.
Trustee Bancole?
Yes.
Trustee Frigie?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Village manager's report.
Two items, one before the one on the agenda, just to let the board know, staff was successful in working with the county to have the 7C passed for the two businesses that were in the Westview Shopping Center. So I believe that was Tap House Grill's property as well as Smoothie King. So we received confirmation that they were provided with all of the information. They've approved that. So that 7C will be going forward. We're still working on the 7C for the Hanover Square Shopping Center. We have not had those positive results yet for that expanded 7C there. Also on the agenda tonight, the Development Commission had a discussion per the board's direction to discuss if there should be changes in the regulation of tobacco, vaping, and now I'm hearing hookah in town. So the Director Govind is going to provide a summary of the discussion that took place at the Development Commission regarding this. There's no action being requested by the board this evening. It's for you to give us basically direction back as to whether you want us to proceed to drafting an ordinance. And if you don't have enough time this evening to have a full discussion about what that ordinance might look like, we can always put it on another agenda as well. But this is a chance to hear at least what those discussions were at the Development Commission, I believe also at the Economic Development Committee meeting. So, Shubhra, if you want to provide that summary.
Good evening, and I do not have a PowerPoint presentation, so I would just run through the recommendations with you. So back in June, we brought this issue before you, a trend that we were noticing with more inquiries coming in for additional vape stores, et cetera, in town. And we brought this before you to find out if you would like us and the Development Commission to look into this issue, if you felt this was an issue. And the board did direct the commission, the Development Commission, to look at the issue and also come back with recommendations, whether it was through licensing or zoning, make those recommendations, hold a public hearing if needed, if there were recommendations for a zoning code amendment. So the Development Commission did hold a couple of workshops and another meeting, and tonight, like Juliana said, we just presenting the recommendations to you. Once you've had a discussion and you provide the direction, then an ordinance would be put together for your formal action. So with that, going back to June, following the direction from the board, in July, the Development Commission held two workshops, July 8th and later in July 29th as well. And thank you, Attorney Paul, for attending those workshops. We also had police department representation as well as inspection services attended those workshops as well and provided a lot of backup info as well. So July, the discussion was that should there be regulation for all kinds of stores that sell tobacco and vape, there was a distinction between stores that sold tobacco as their primary substance that they were, issue that they were selling, versus an incidental sale. So for instance, a gas station or a grocery store or Walgreens selling cigarettes versus a vape store or a tobacco store. That was a distinction made. So we have 26 business licenses right now for tobacco, and there's only one category, tobacco licenses. It does not differentiate whether it's a primary tobacco retailer versus incidental. And this Illinois Smoke-Free Act distinguishes that, that if more than 80% of the revenue for a store comes from the sale of tobacco and related products, then it's a primary tobacco retailer. We don't have that distinction here in the village in terms of our tobacco licensing. The discussion also centered around why we wanted to do this. Is it aesthetics? Is it health? And the discussion was, yes, it's probably a little bit of both. Now, the commission also felt that if it is health, then there are other vices, to say alcohol that, or cannabis, and we do have regulations for cannabis. We do have licensing for alcohol, so there is some control of those substances being sold too. The other issue was whether there should be, whether there's a concern with the geographic concentration of these businesses in one area, which starts impacting the neighborhood or the surroundings, and whether or not there should be regulations concerning the proximity of these stores from sensitive users. You'll recall back when cannabis was being discussed, there was sensitive areas that were identified, like schools and libraries and parks where you expect to find youth. So all of those items were discussed in their July 8th workshop. And the commission felt that there should be regulations for the primary tobacco retailers. There wasn't as much concern with the incidental sales, but more for the primary tobacco retailers. And yes, that there was impact to aesthetics and image, in addition to health of the residents. They did ask us for additional information. July 29th, there was another workshop that was held, and there was a certain definite desire to limit the number of stores, to reduce the density of these stores in any one area. And also, there was discussion about whether the age should be raised, whether there should be some requirement for scanning for age documentation, whether there should be some other oversight through zoning. And then August 12th is when the Development Commission made their formal recommendations. So if I may go through those recommendations real quick, that there should be a change in the definition of primary tobacco stores versus incidental. And for the primary, as opposed to the state saying 80% of their revenue, that we should use more than 50%. If more than 50% of their revenue was being derived through the sale of tobacco and related products, that it was a primary tobacco store. Feedback that I got from inspection services was that when somebody comes in for a business license, if they're a first-time business in town, we may not have that sales history to determine whether 50% of their sales was based on tobacco products or not. So perhaps have that as, if more than 50% of the sale area was for tobacco-related products, then it is a primary tobacco store. So that was one recommendation. The second was that we currently have 4 primary tobacco stores. To limit the number of the primary tobacco stores, grandfathering those 4 in. So similar to the way we have the alcohol licensing, if a business closed or relocated, that the number of licenses went down to the next number. And for a new one, they would have to come back to the village board. Now, during all this discussion, would like to note that that the commission felt that the 4 licensees were able to continue with their business. There's one particular business that had already been in the process of buying another location and moving, and they have requested that that their new location also be grandfathered in, because that discussion we already have the tax transfer stamp. That discussion had been going on before the village started this discussion. The next issue was that there be a tiered licensing system, so that there's one license, say, for the sale of tobacco, a separate license for, say, vape products, hookah products, e-cigarettes, whatever, and to separate the definitions so that we could regulate tobacco separately and vape and hookah separately and paraphernalia also. Now, based on the discussion that we had, there are a couple of perspectives. My notes and my understanding was that we have a separate license for tobacco, separate for vape, and a third for paraphernalia. But I did receive an email from the Development Commission chair that his understanding was separate for tobacco and a second one for vape and paraphernalia all grouped together. But the recommendation is before you. If the board decides to go one way or the other, we will draft the ordinance accordingly. Also, to increase the license fees. So currently, the tobacco licenses are at $100. And it appears that there are a few retailers that have the tobacco license that don't even sell tobacco. So the thought was, the commission made a recommendation that we should increase the license fee to $500, so that if a retailer was selling tobacco, that would be $500. If they were selling vape or paraphernalia, that would be an additional. Depending on how the board decides to divvy it up, if you have the 3 separate licenses, it would be $1,500. If you say tobacco and vape and paraphernalia are separate, then it would be $1,000. But that would be significantly different from what we have today. Also, the display and storage of paraphernalia to be limited to 25% of the retail sales area. Because currently they found that one thing that really impacted the aesthetics was the display of paraphernalia in a store. And they felt that as long as it was limited to 25% of the total square footage of the retail portion, that would be a significantly limiting factor as well. Another recommendation, there was a lot of discussion about this, about whether we should require scanning for the age verification. So say for alcohol and tobacco, there's an age limit, and should that be a requirement for the seller to scan the licenses? There was feedback from the police department that a lot of times the sales clerk would enter in their own birth date, for instance, if they wanted to make a sale. So there was a lot of discussion about that, whether that should be a requirement or not. But there was also a feeling that that could be very expensive. So perhaps that could be used as a tool. So if there was a violation, maybe as part of the adjudication hearing, that could become a requirement that that store has to scan the age verification. But in either case, then the police department would have access to that database. There was also discussion and a recommendation that there should be a minimum distance of 1,500 feet between these uses, the primary tobacco and vape stores, and also 1,250 feet from the sensitive stores, such as schools and daycares, where youth and children are expected. A second note that was made that sometimes these stores may tend to have security gates, and I remember that that was an issue that was discussed back when cannabis was also being discussed, that also impacts the aesthetics and visibility, that during their operating hours, those gates should not be visible. So if at the end of the day, after the business is closed, if they need to have them for security purposes, that's one thing, but during the day, during the hours of operation, they should not be visible. So those are the recommendations of the Development Commission, and the Economic Development Committee also discussed and made similar recommendations that yes, they should be controlled and use whatever means licensing or zoning to control. And Attorney Paul was able to provide guidance that all these criteria and recommendations that are being made can be addressed through licensing, which gives the board the ability to consider each on a case-by-case basis as well.
Very good.
I think also to add, there was discussion about structuring it the same as liquor. So right now your liquor licenses, if a liquor license establishment closes or changes ownership, that license comes down and it goes away, and then it requires the board to create a new license in order to allow that establishment to go forward. That require that approval at the board meeting. And then also, since these discussions have taken place, there's also been a request for a business in town to be able to deliver through, as we see grocery delivery and all of that, there's been a request to be able to deliver tobacco. So somebody could order tobacco or baking online and be able to receive that through a delivery process at home with a check or a scan of identification at the house. So I think that is not something we have currently, and we need guidance from the village board about whether that's something we would.
Okay, thank you. Discussion of the board. Any comments from the board? Anyone?
I just have one. As far as like delivery, I mean, do we allow alcohol delivery currently?
I know that during COVID, the executive order allowed for some of that. I'd have to go back and look at.
Yeah, but that's under emergency.
Yeah, I know individuals could receive wine through, order up, but I just don't know whether any of the stores in town are delivering. Instacart, I believe, does deliver liquor to a home through Instacart.
I don't want to get distracted tonight by alcohol, 'cause that's,
Right, but I mean,
I do have some issues
because
there.
alcohol is age restricted and so is tobacco and tobacco products, so that's why I'm asking.
I think liquor is something that we, at least in other communities, you can receive at home for delivery. I don't know that we've been able to find a tobacco delivery.
Well, I'd like to deal with the liquor on a separate issue, and I do have issues with what's going on. And I really don't want to get mired in that. Let's focus on the tobacco.
I have a question.
Yes.
Shubra, the commission was talking about looking at a license for tobacco separate from a license for vape, et cetera. Did they discuss the pros and cons of that at all on the store owners? I mean, personally, I think you know how I feel about this. There's an increase of 45% of tobacco use since 2018 among high schoolers, and 56% of them won't give it up. They're now addicted. So as a parent, I'm not for this. But looking at our store owners, did they discuss that at all? What the repercussions would be about individual license versus pooling them together and tobacco aside?
Any discussion regarding from the store owners, whether they should be separated or not. But that both the commission, the Development Commission, as well as the EDC felt that they should be separated so that they could be separate controls. For instance, hookah and vape and paraphernalia versus tobacco, but they would all still have to follow the distancing requirements. The licensing fees would still apply.
And they would all be increased?
I'm sorry?
An increase for all licensing fees?
Yes,
whether they're-
correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any direction, any discussion of the board? I'd like the, oh, we got a question in the back. Please come forward to the microphone. State your name, your business.
Hello, my name is Byandish Patel. I'm the owner of the Stogie Hanover Park, the cigar lounge.
Oh, you were the owner of that thing.
Sorry. So my question is regarding for the transfer the license, because I currently own the 1090 Lake Street, the Stogie Hanover Park. I'm buying the new property is a 1015 Lake Street. It's next to the Starbucks and gun shooting spots. I talked to Subraji and she said like we're gonna discuss tonight regarding for the transfer license. So my question is like I have 5 business. I'm running for last 30 years and 5 different cities. So if I move from one location to another location, I never pay extra money or never get the new license. So my question is, the city of Hanover Park has the rules. So if you move from one location to another location, you have to have a new license. And new license is going to be applied or not. That's again, whatever the village has the rules and regulation.
So the recommendation, my understanding is the recommendation was to have 4 primary doors being one of them, 2 on the Decatur County side, 2 on the County side, that would move forward as primary tobacco vape type stores, so that my understanding, the recommendation was is that your business Stogies would be one of those.
Is this the one that we were talking about, that
The
would
buy
move
store.
and would be grandfathered in? Yeah.
Right, and this location is for last 20 years.
Yeah.
Is a grandfather. Even they didn't pass the law in 2021 for the freestanding building. And my store is a cigar store, is not a vape, not a hookah, or not any drug finales, any product.
Yeah, you're a respected store in town.
But let me clarify, it didn't have anything, the discussion didn't have anything to do with whether you were grandfathered in terms of having a standalone building or not. It was just as far as the tobacco license.
Okay.
So I think you're good on the transition. You're gonna move across the street essentially. Your business will continue. You'll be in a new building.
But still, my understanding is the
And,
requirements of what is required for a tobacco store would
Yeah.
be.
And I have also my developer, New Path Construction Company. He won a few questions.
And where's he
Thank you.
located?
So I'm a Hanover Park business as well. We're a national company. We're doing development and construction. But just to help Bandish enunciate, we've built for Bandish and other cities and things like that. While we understand what you guys are discussing regarding the vaping and the licensing and how these things will split up and the impact on the community, the issue is actually more of a timing one from our perspective. We are doing the development with GW Properties, which is the Starbucks that's going on Lake Street. We'll be building that. The gun range is being built by somebody else, but we're actually working to help improve that entire corner there. In Bandish, his store here, Stogie's, there's a lease, impending lease termination that's coming due. And so the timing, the way we're kind of orchestrating this is we believe that it is something that will transfer properly, but we have to be 100% certain, because if we terminate the lease and then build a building, and then come to find that that license isn't grandfathered over, it'd be catastrophic for the business that's been around for 20-plus years. So I think our questions are really around, are we certain, can we move forward, because we're basically a week out from having to make that decision.
Sir, give me 1 second. I'm a little bit confused, because we're talking about controlling tobacco license. You're talking about a real estate change here. Shubha, can you explain this?
Can I have your name real quick? Sir, what's your name?
I'm Adam Garcia.
Thank you.
When the Development Commission had the discussion, they talked about limiting the number of licenses. 2 on Cook County, 2 on Newton. But one of those licenses was for Stokey's current business. They have now decided to move across the street. So if they do that and move, normally they would have to go through the process of getting a new license because it's based on location. What they're asking for is assurance from the board. We can't take formal action tonight because it's not on the agenda for action. And, is that they have the sense that the board would support them continuing to have a tobacco license in town at their new location.
And the commission,
The only clarification I was trying to make was, it doesn't mean that they're not gonna have to follow all the rules of
Right.
the state and the village on tobacco and location and being in standable zone and all that. That is separate from tonight, that is not.
but the commission did advise that they would be grandfathered in, that would be one of the 4. And that's what, I'm on the economic development.
They can't grandfather them in if they move. You know what I'm saying?
They recommended that they be
They be
grandfathered at their new
Yeah.
location.
It's a separate recommendation.
But that, just so.
Right.
Two different things.
Right, so the commission is recommending grandfather in the new location, not the current location. I'm fine with that.
Either.
Yeah. So it is recommended within the guidelines, within the conversation here, it talks about specifically about your store, Bandesh, that you are moving across the street. So today, there is no decision-making or anything like that. We're not approving, disapproving anything. We're just having a discussion. And within that discussion, your store is mentioned, that you're moving.
Okay.
Yeah? Then it will be grandfather. So,
I think the point for us, we understand it's discussion. We just want to
Yeah.
make sure that you understand kind of the moving pieces as we're putting the development deal
point well noted.
together. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Adam.
We want you to continue to be successful in Hanover Park.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Very good. Any other discussion? Anyone else want to come up and talk about vaping, smoking, hookah, choo-choo? Hearing none, let's move on.
Well, can I just say, I like the recommendations. I especially like the fact that you don't scan, you're not looking at the right dates, then you will have to scan. That's a great idea. I don't know whether each license, keeping tobacco separate, okay, and then the other licenses all pulled together. It's either one for me, but all the other recommendations I think are excellent.
Yeah, I would like to recommend that any new licenses include the provision for a scanning machine to accompany the license for any new licenses that are issued.
So the staff recommendation was the scanning requirement be imposed if there's a violation. Otherwise, it can be an expensive requirement.
Yeah, that should be part of the cost of doing business, so I would like to see that,
Thank you.
that they have
Thank you, Trustee
scanning.
Porter. Yeah, otherwise it comes to our hearing, and then we've got to impose that.
Yeah.
So, it's cost of doing business from the get-go, and I like the notion of keeping these things separate, whether it's hookah, whether it's vaping, whether it's, what's the other thing? Paraphernalia, tobacco. Let's make them all separate.
Well, I would say, at minimum, there should be a definition of what each of those is and means, so that we're all on the same page, because I think there's confusion sometimes about all of those. If the board can make a decision about how they
Okay.
Is that okay?
That sounds agreeable, yeah.
Okay, without objection, board has provided its direction to staff.
Sorry.
What's,
For a short meeting tonight.
are we done with the manager?
No, she said one more thing.
We have course new crafts, this Saturday, so I would encourage everybody to come to, that signature event for the village. It's in the new, newly redeveloped, village center area, so I highly encourage everyone to come out on Saturday for some good food and, music, etc. We have a very busy, couple of weeks, and, encourage everyone to get a good night's sleep, because we, have the CIUC stakeholders event, is coming out next week. We also have the capital budget workshop. It's, a very long meeting to talk about all of our capital budgets, and requests, and so we usually start that process of the budget, talk about capital, and then we'll move into all the other. So we have that, and then we have our, strategic planning retreat, with the board for our new 3-year strategic plan, and the consultants will be here, and we will have a lot of information for you on that. They all intertwine, and what you set in all of those policy processes and documents will set the tone and, our work plan for the next 3 years. So, I look forward to having all of those discussions, but I know that over the last several months, we've said, oh, we'll talk about that in strategic plan, or that's a good thing to talk, and so now's the time to kind of have your list of things you want to think about for the next few years for us to work on. So that, I conclude my report, Mayor.
Well, thank you very much, and we'll certainly see you Saturday, when things will be, it's gonna be an outstanding day. It's gonna be, the weather's gonna be great and everything else. Village clerk's report,
No report.
corporation council report,
No report, thank you.
trustee Priggy,
Yeah, so Monday, I attended the workshop meeting for the Park District, and they were going over their financials, and they thanked us again for helping them fill the pool. And the guy that was going over everything said, hopefully they'll do it again next year. And I'm like, I also asked Bob for a report on all the code violations they've been working on. And he said some of them are capital issues, but he was going to get me that list, and I will share it with you all when I get it. And that's it.
okay. I think staff's been working with the park district on,
We have an ongoing list,
Oh.
of what those are, we can provide that. I don't know that there's been much, again, as you said,
So
there's
with the-
capital
with-
expensive issues.
with what Bob's, trustee Priggy's suggesting, I think we gotta merge that in and maybe get some detail on that back to the board. It's been a while. Is that Department of the,
The code enforcement.
okay, yeah, let's roll that up. I think the board is overdue on a report for that. Thank you, trustee Priggy. Trustee Gusani?
As Juliana just mentioned, we have a stakeholders meeting next week. And the topic will be definitive ways to dismantle racism in our community. And we had a rundown today, a dry run, and it went well, so we're hoping everything will execute the way we intended. Looking forward to see everybody there.
Thank you.
That's it.
Very good. Trustee Gutierrez?
Okay, thank you for sending out those letters to the homeowners and renters. It's obvious that it worked, and I'm excited about the fact that we can make it easier for them. And if we can make that part of our policy, just to send out like this is what this means, like the credit cards do, that'd be great. And the suggestion about putting information on the special service area and maybe even TIF online would be also remarkable. I know other towns do that as well. The EDC did a great job with First Spanish Seminar. We had a great turnout. I was very proud of everybody there. We were honored with the presence of the first Latina elected to lieutenant governor in the U.S., our very own lieutenant governor in Illinois, past Lieutenant Governor Evelyn Sanguinetti, and she was very much impressed with the village as well and with the EDC. So thank you for that. The EDC is also going to have their after hours on October 5th, so this is a great time for folks to network and promote their business. We have a flyer that we're working on. We're going to put it out in Spanish as well, because we have a lot of Spanish-owned businesses, and we're excited about that. The Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee for the Mayor's Caucus is tomorrow at 9, so I'll be going to that. There is a trunk or treat coming up October 30th over at Old Salem, and so we're looking for people who want to decorate their cars. So if you have nothing better to do on a Friday and want to give out candy and hang out with us, let us know October 30th. And then finally, the POC is going to have its ribbon cutting. Shubra doesn't know this, but it's going to happen October 29th. That's what the day that the board selected. And so look forward to your invite coming up soon, as we are located now at Amita. That's it.
At the Amita Hanover Park facility, outstanding work by our trustee Gutierrez to bring that service to Hanover Park. Outstanding work. And the ribbon cutting is when?
October 29th.
Thank you very much. Oh, boy, that's outstanding. Trustee Porter.
I attended a Zoom conference with the Northwest Mayor and Managers Conference this week, the Legislative Committee. And the one issue that I wanted to report back on is that there's been talk about making amendments to the current TIF arrangements, reducing, there's a move in Springfield to reduce the TIFs from 23 to 10 years. There's some support for that. And so the conference is taking a position on that. One of the sticking points in that is the issue of blighted areas. They think that it's been misused and overused, as communities report, and to justify a TIF, to recommend that an area or to describe an area as blighted, they think that that's been abused, and so that has brought up a lot of discussion and a lot of attention to the whole issue of TIFs. So that's an ongoing thing with the veto session. I think that's coming up in November is the veto session, but that's one of the items that will be discussed. So just keep that on your radar, and you might want to contact some of our local representatives and weigh in on that. It's important that we maintain the ability to establish TIFs as they help with development, business development. Certainly has helped us in a number of our key developments in using the tool to do that. So that's an issue that is being discussed. So I just wanted to alert you to that, and that the Northwest Mayor Managers Conference has that on their agenda, and that they will be exploring that and advocating for the continued use of TIF with minimal adjustments to, you know, the way that it's currently constructed. So wanted to point that out. Couple of things I want to highlight. Again, this is Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, and I want to thank everyone that has contributed to my efforts to raise funds for this event. Many of you here on the board have been very helpful, so I want to thank you. I was able to meet my goal for fundraising. I'm still a little short on my riding goal, but I've got 15 days to get that in, and I have no doubt that I'll be able to do that. But thank you very much for all of you guys that have contributed to that. I really do appreciate it. This is also Mexican Independence Day, and I want to recognize our very vibrant Mexican-American community that's here in Hanover Park, how they are appreciated and respected, and the vital role that they play in the vibrancy of our community. And I just wanted to make note that today is Mexican Independence Day. So wanted to make sure that we take note of that. Also want to thank Chief Minot and his department for providing the report on gun violence issues. I had asked for him to give me a report that summarized gun incidents in Hanover Park. He put together a very detailed report that goes back, I think, to 2016 forward through this current year. And it's very helpful information, Chief. I'm still deciphering it and looking through it, but I think it does set a baseline for us to look at moving forward as we continue to track incidents of gun violence in our community. So thank you, you and your team, for putting that report together. I think you sent it out to the full board, and I think everyone did receive it. So, but I just wanted to thank you for your efforts and for your work in doing that. And that's my report.
Thank you, Trustee. Trustee Kemper.
All right, Trustee Porter, thank you for mentioning Mexican Independence Day today. And on Saturday, I mildly attended, I participated in with the St. Ansgar's Mexican Independence Day celebration. Spent 3 hours making El Pastor. So that, and over a hot grill on a hot day. So it was fun. The event was it was very well done. I believe Father Eduardo, I think in the future, is going to keep it to a smaller event. He was pleased with the way that it went. It may be a little bit bigger than what it was, and I would like to thank the clerk, and I would like to thank the building department for the short period of time that we had to get permits in and get dates and everything situated. There will be plenty of time for on the next one, because the decisions on everything for St. Ansgar weren't made until Wednesday prior, before the permits being filed. So again, next year they will have them well in advance.
And I believe they'll bring the beer booth back.
I think they probably will. This year they didn't want to do it.
I like a beer with my tacos.
So, exactly. So, but a smaller beer.
Yeah, no, it's all good.
So,
We do have the capability, so they have that specialized license.
right. With that is all that I have for today.
Thank you. Trustee Ben Cole.
So I would like to wish those of Jewish faith and heritage just a meaningful and blessed Yom Kippur. Earlier today, I was able to attend Tap House Grill's re-grand opening with my fellow board members and fellow staff. It was great to see all of you. Really excited for that business and the new management that they're under. Also, recently I spent some time introducing myself to some of our small business owners. I quite literally walked from door to door, and I had flyers of the state of Illinois' Back to Business grant. As a reminder, this is a grant for eligible small businesses where you can receive anywhere from $5,000 to $150,000. It's a lot, and it's still, applications are being accepted through the month of October. I mention this because every single business that I introduced myself to, I asked if they were even aware of this grant, and I asked if they had received any sort of communications from our village notifying them of this grant. I hit a little over 30 businesses, and all businesses said no to both questions. And so I say that because I just want to remind the board and everyone really that sometimes those that need help the most really aren't getting the information that we have so much access to on a daily basis. So just a reminder to just always be intentional with our outreach efforts and make sure that we're doing everything that we can to support our residents and support our our businesses during these still tough times. And last but not least, not this upcoming Saturday, but the following Saturday, I hope that I will see many of you at environmental committee, sorry, I'm tired. The environmental committee's river sweep that's coming up. I'm excited to continue to help our rivers stay clean. So it's gonna be Saturday, September 25th, starting at 9 a.m. And please dress to get a little dirty. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. In our outreach to all our small business, it drives me crazy because I know we do it, and I think they forget what we're asking, but the difficulty has been that they're so focused on their day-to-day business, they can't break away to do other things, so they tend to ignore it. And, you know, we're working on that. I know we had Evelyn Sanguinetti is going to help us with some of that. Certainly the work of our POC. We've got to break down that, how we get there, how we get it in their heads that this is important stuff we're doing, and we want to be successful with that. And I think we're on the pathway. I think this is a great board to help us get on that pathway, and certainly we're progressing that way. And the dialogue tonight was just outstanding. Herb brought a whole new thing to the board tonight, and it's time. You know, it's time to get that simple language so people understand it. That's what our community is about. So with that, I have a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Christie, call the roll.
Trustee Gutierrez?
Yes.
Trustee Porter?
Yes.
Trustee Kemper?
Yes.
Trustee Bancole?
Yes.
Trustee Frigie?
Yes.
Trustee Usani?
Yes.
Meeting is adjourned at 9:18 p.m.
The manager's goal was 8 o'clock.